On this episode of Rock River Rails, we feature Union Pacific's Big Boy number 4014 on its Heartland of America Tour from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Houston, Texas, and back to Cheyenne. Our coverage of the tour begins in Rochelle, Illinois on the Geneva subdivision, and we chase the locomotive to Watseka, Illinois on the Villa Grove sub. But before the chase, we visit Union Pacific's Global 3 Yard on Sunday, September 8th, along with 60,000 others to get a look at the Big Boy on display. After sitting in traffic for nearly 3 hours, we finally made it into Global 3 to view the locomotive on static display. Union Pacific 4014 is a steam locomotive owned and operated by the Union Pacific as part of their steam program. It was built in 1941 by American Locomotive Company, better known as ALCO, at their New York locomotive facility. The locomotive is a 4-cylinder, simple articulated 4884 Big Boy type developed by Union Pacific and ALCO to handle the 1.14% grade of Utah's Wasatch Range during freight revenue service. "4014 was built at a 1941 cost of $265,000, which equates to about $5 million with inflation in 2024. The locomotive ran its final revenue trip on July 21, 1959, and accumulated 1,031,205 rail miles during its lifespan pulling freight. Union Pacific retired number 4014 on December 7, 1961, and a year later it was donated to the Southern California chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society in Pomona, California. Fast forward to 2012, when Union Pacific Suits announced they were looking to acquire a Big Boy locomotive for restoration and future excursion runs. With only 8 Big Boys left in preservation, in July of 2013, the Southern California chapter in Pomona, California, agreed to return number 4014 back to Union Pacific. In November of 2013, number 4014 began its journey to Union Pacific Steam Shop in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and arrived at the Roundhouse in May of 2014. It sat idle for 2 years while UP worked on overhauling their 844 steam locomotive and upgrading their facilities to accommodate the Big Boy. In August of 2016, Union Pacific officials announced that 4014's restoration work had begun and was being led by their Heritage Fleet Operations Director, Ed Dickens. One of the more major alterations needed was to convert the coal-burning locomotive to run on number 5 fuel oil. After restoration and alterations were completed, in February 2019, number 4014's boiler passed inspection and the locomotive was successfully test-fired on April 9th. On May 1st, 2019, number 4014 moved under its own power for the first time in nearly 60 years. The following night, the locomotive made its first test run from Cheyenne to Nunn, Colorado. With a successful restoration and test run complete, 4014 joined number 844 in Union Pacific's steam fleet and in May 2019, both locomotives double-headed and made a run to Ogden, Utah to celebrate 150 years since the completion of the first transcontinental railroad. Ever since, Big Boy number 4014 has been running excursion trips and is the world's largest operational steam locomotive. In 2021, number 4014 became the first mainline steam locomotive to be equipped with positive train control, allowing it to be the lead locomotive instead of being led by a diesel helper unit. "2024's excursion trip has a diesel helper in tow, but it's mostly used for dynamic braking and a backup locomotive in case there's an issue with the Big Boy." The consist features passenger coach cars that experience the Union Pacific virtual tour car and an observation car, among others. With the history of Big Boy 4014 out of the way, we head home for the evening, and the following day we would try our best to chase the locomotive from Rochelle to Watseka, Illinois. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our coverage of 4014 as it makes its way across northern Illinois.
Call the witnesses a few more times.
On Monday, September 9th, we begin our day at the Rochelle Railroad Park at about 7:15 in the morning. To our surprise, the crowd isn't too bad yet, but it won't be long until rail fans start to arrive.
Well, it's just, yeah, you never.
The train has a scheduled whistle stop from 8:45 to 9 at the park, so we find an open spot to set up our camera and grab a hot cup of coffee from the vendor set up in the parking lot. Both crossings are shut down for traffic, as well as the parking lot being closed.
To see the steam is
Oh, okay. Well, that's something, though. Oh, wow. Look at that, Gary.
It's now 8:30 a.m., and the sound of the approaching whistle indicates the train is about 15 minutes ahead of schedule. We grab a few static video clips and some photos of 4014 in pretty much perfect lighting as she shows off for the rail fans.
Oh, it is? You just go inside or?
No, it was very looked at boy.
Yeah.
We aren't going to stick around to see the train depart. Instead, we're headed to the Dement Road overpass for a better view.
Yeah, it's it. You had to run by. There's always one vehicle that's the in front of everybody. When you show up somewhere, shot in front of you, it's to me, it's like, I had that chase the road there. It's the last one. Pulled up, came in or something. One car. These kids are set up on this side of the crossing. Gates are going to be in the shot and everything else.
With a higher vantage point from Dement Road, we're able to see the Big Boy Smoke Show as it passes through downtown Rochelle, departing eastbound. We would now run a quarter mile with camera gear back to the truck and begin our chase of the train east. Although our plan was to catch the train a few times before the West Chicago suburbs, we get hung up at traffic lights in DeKalb and would resort to Plan B and head south of Chicago Heights. After a short stint on the tollway and Dixie Highway, we land in Beecher, Illinois, a quiet village of 4,700 residents located in Will County. Beecher's rail history dates back to the 1800s and present day hosts Union Pacific's Villa Grove subdivision. After about 45 minutes' time, a crowd starts to fill in, and according to Union Pacific's online steam tracker, 4014 should be arriving any moment.
My son was telling me yesterday
We pack up the camera gear as quickly as possible, and since we're in farm country, there are no traffic lights to slow us down. We managed to catch up to the train in Moments, Illinois, and it stopped to pick up a VIP for a cab ride. The city of Moments is located in Kankakee County, adjacent to the Kankakee River, and has a population of 3,100 residents. We'll find a good spot to pull over and get trackside to watch 4014's departure. A large crowd starts to gather to get a glimpse of the locomotive. 4014 is one of 8 big boys preserved around the United States. The others are on display in St. Louis, Missouri, Dallas, Texas, Omaha, Nebraska, Denver, Colorado, Scranton, Pennsylvania, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Cheyenne, Wyoming. With a few blasts of the whistle, the train is ready to depart and continue southbound towards Watseka. It was back on the road again as the chase resumed. Small towns with low speed limits slow us down, but it wouldn't be long until we catch back up with the train. Once we're back into the cornfields, we see lines of cars parked at every grade crossing, with folks hoping to get a glimpse of the big boy and its train. After a few more crossings, we pull over to see the train as it approaches Watseka. The final stop on our journey is Watseka, as the train has a scheduled whistle stop in town. We set up on the southern outskirts to catch the train as it departs and heads towards Villa Grove, where it will lie down for the evening. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Just want to see who's smiling. If they don't put a smile on your